Go live. Why isn't it letting me click it? That is annoying. Oh, it is doing it. Okay. Hello, world. Hope you're having a fantastic day. I was going to play something, but I'm having a little bit of a technical moment here trying to figure out how to stream on Instagram and Facebook at the same time. Hello. Hope you're all doing good. All of the chats from all of these feeds should be appearing in my little chat box here on the screen. Lots of familiar faces here. The Madman is in the house. Quite a few blimmers. Keith Milner's in with his band hounds. Magic. There's quite a few. Dazza. I could get, yeah, we got people. Let's do the little customary where we're all from thing. So we got Norway and Dublin, New Zealand. Extra points. Who's that? Eddie for getting up so early. A few from the UK. Pensacola. Is that how it's pronounced? I can't read it. It's a bit too far away. Queensland. Another Aussie. Jasmine. Well done. There's people getting up. Streaming is choppy. I'm sorry, Alpha. It's showing it should be pretty good for me. Let me just double check my Dropbox is not updating. It's not. That's the only thing sometimes that makes my feed a bit rubbish, but it does say it's only uploading at 78 kilobits, which is pretty slow. Don't know what's going on there. Let's just hope that the internet improves in the next little bit. Santa Rosa, Colorado, Cornwall. Hasn't it been miserable over here lately? Bert from Belgium. He's even got his place name in his tag there. Really liking the sound of this guitar today. I don't know what. I just flicked it onto a different setting than usual, and I'm just that nice little bit of crunchiness. Anyway, today's not about that. Today is about the 3 types of songs that I would recommend that you're learning if you want to speed up your progress on guitar. I know that there's a few blimmers in the house that are students that are doing my blues immersion course. And interestingly, it's something that I talk about with you guys with the blues thing as well. So there is an ebook that you can grab for this. If you signed up for email, Fanny, I can see your face there. Can you give me a nod if they've already been sent a link to the ebook, or are they going to get it later? Now or later? Not now. So there's an ebook coming your way. And I think that if I read the copyright, that if you want to get a copy of it, there'll be a link in the chat there somewhere. Fanny can post a link there. There we go. This Typeform link here on my profile. Can I click show? There we go. There's that URL there. If you click on that, you can grab the ebook. And that's going to explain the stuff that I'm talking about in this if you forget for later. So the idea here, just to kind of make it a summary, there's lots of reasons people learn songs, mostly songs that they really love playing or whatever. And many times when people are trying to figure out their practice routine, if they don't get the songs right, they don't have these 3 different types of songs, they can really find themselves in a bit of a muddle. And it's quite logical, really, when you think about it. If you always pick songs that are too easy, that aren't challenging you, you get bored. You start playing the things and you say, oh, I'm playing the same things, or I'm not learning anything, and I'm not getting any better, and everything can get pretty stale pretty quickly. The flip side of that is if people try and play songs that are too hard, if they're really struggling with the songs all the time, then they feel frustrated that they're not making any progress. They can't do the things that they would like to be able to do, and that can be really frustrating. So the point of these 3 songs is finding a way of developing your confidence, musical things that you can play immediately that are kind of easy enough. We're going to break those into these 2 different types of songs called Campfire songs, which are kind of campfire and growers, these types of songs that can grow with you as you get better. Then we've got these songs called developers. And developers are really important because they're songs that you can't initially play, but have got a particular skill in it that you need to work on. And then we've got this 3rd category, which is the dreamers, which are the songs that you've always really, really wanted to play. And, you know, I would suggest that all beginners and intermediates have these 3 types of songs that they're cooking at the same time. Sometimes you might have more than one in each category that you're working on, but each kind of week that you're practicing, I would suggest that you're working on all 3. This is a technique that I've been using for quite a while. All of the students that I used this process with made really good progress and managed to maintain interest in guitar and in music and developing their skills for a lot longer than those that don't or didn't gel with this idea for whatever reason. I should also say that this is kind of like a suggested starting point. And if at any point you feel like you need to adapt it because it would fit you better a slightly different way, then that's absolutely a great thing. We are all different. We're all different humans. We all like different things. We got different tastes, different ways of working, different modes of learning. And so if you feel like you wanted to tweak or adapt this to fit yourself, I think that's fantastic. So be aware that that is definitely a thing as well. So what I thought I'd do is take you through each one of these song types and talk a little bit about them and how you might approach it and things to watch out for, things to be aware of. Toward the end of the session, I'm going to take you through the winners of the Justin Guitar Song Challenge winners and talk a bit about that, but that'll be something that we just mentioned right at the end. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the Black Friday bundle thing that we've got cooking, of course. Hey, the sales, capitalism, yay! Okay, enough of dissing myself. Let's talk about Campfire songs. So I did a kind of funny video earlier this year about this experience I had when I was away skiing, and my friend Nick thought it'd be really cool to tell the owner of this restaurant we were eating at that I was a famous guitar player and that I'd love to play, and could he bring his guitar along? And it really put me on the spot. It wasn't a bad thing, and it's something that I should have dealt with, but it was one of those, what on earth am I going to play? Like at that time, I'd been none of the songs that I had been working on were kind of appropriate, and I do know hundreds and hundreds of songs, but because I'm not playing them all the time in that context, it was a little bit like, oh my God, like, which I was really struggling, and it gave me a kick in the butt to get my own kind of set list down of Campfire songs. And I think every guitar player should have like 10 songs at least that they can play from memory confidently. It's one of the things that I suggest for beginners, that they haven't passed the beginner grades until they can do that. You know, I really, really feel like it's an important thing. And it's also worth noting that they can be really simple. So there's lots of songs that have only got 3 chords. So if you know the 3 chords and you know G, C, and D, or A, D, and E, or whatever, those 3-chord trick songs, there are hundreds of songs that you can play like that, where it's the same progression all the way through. And you know, if you find yourself with a guitar in your hand at a party and you've had a few beers or a few glasses of wine or whatever, and things aren't maybe as crystal clear as they might normally be, it's a good idea to have some of those songs in your repertoire as well. In the video that I did about the ski experience, I named my top 10 songs that I think are great ones to play in a party situation. And the one I chose on that particular occasion was Wonderwall, just because there were loads of Brits there, and it's a pretty, you know, it's one of those songs where everyone likes to sing along with. So that kind of song is a great one. So let me just scroll down my little page here and see what things I've forgotten about. The other ones that I put on my little that I used in the book that I think are really good sing-alongs. Wish You Were Here. I mean, it's got the intro, so it's maybe a little bit more advanced if you're going to play the intro stuff as well. You know, Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen. It's a little bit more miserable, but beautiful song. Heart of Gold, Neil Young, very popular one. Probably the biggest of these ones that I've put on that list is Free Fallen by Tom Petty. I mean, that's just such a fantastic riff, really easy to play, nice song. Everybody loves singing along with Free Fallen. So the point of the Campfire ones is not anything complicated, right? They can be absolutely super simple. The most important thing is that you can play them all of the way through, including the bridge, that you know that you can play them from memory, that you don't need a tab or anything like that. I do think it's a really good idea to have like a little printout with the chords and the lyrics there. It might be a gentle nudge for yourself to be able to look at those chords, but also if you're in a campfire sort of situation there, other people can read the lyrics, right? So it's got a dual purpose there. It gives you a little helping hand, like a little reminder if you need it on the chords, but it gives your friends something to read. Because again, one of the experiences I had up in the ski lodge was that the internet was a bit dodgy, and hardly any of us had any internet, and it was really slow. So that made it a little bit frustrating. So now I use the Apple Notes, the notepad thing that's built into my iPhone, and I just put the song lyrics in there. I tend to just write the chords at the top like once, because I don't need to see them in with all of the lyrics. But it's just a reminder, especially if there's like a bridge where there's a funny chord that happens, or a chord progression that's slightly different. So I think that's a really strong trick. I do think it's also important with Campfire things to pick songs that are the kind of things that you and your friends might like. So, you don't want to be learning old 60s folk songs if all your friends are into metal, right? You want to find those kind of medley tunes or rocky tunes, maybe a bit of Green Day or something that, actually, you might hate Green Day. Find the songs that you like, that you and your friends would like, or the people that you might find yourself playing with. So maybe it's not about your friends, it's maybe what your family is going to play at Christmas. Maybe you can learn some Christmas songs, or, just friendly, generally well-known pop songs. Maybe it's something a slightly older song that your granny would like. Think about where it is that you're going to be playing it, especially with Christmas coming up. I think the Campfire thing is, again, the kind of thing that you might be able to sit down and play after a big Christmas dinner for everyone to have a little listen to, or a sing-along. So I think that we've got a couple of levels above, sort of in between Campfire and developers. Or they could be developers that you've practiced and they've got good enough to go into Campfire. Now, I'm just going to pop back to the stream for a second, because I got a different page on. So I am just checking the chat now. If you've got any comments, pop them in the comments. If you've got any questions, I want to answer questions about like what guitar amplifier I recommend under $500 or whatever right now. We're specifically talking about this songs idea. Baz Cook says songs for the grandkids. Good idea. Absolutely. It's some easy Taylor Swift songs or whatever that it's going to go down well. YouTube had awful video. I'm sorry. It's showing that my bitrate is pretty low for my upload, but there's not much I can do with it. I live in the countryside, and sometimes the internet is good here and sometimes it's not. This is the lowest it's been for a little while, and I'm pretty sure. Just let me have one last check and see if there's anything open that could be uploading stuff, and I'll quit it. And that's everything that I can quit. Sorry about that. Yeah. Okay. So Andrew's got a question there. When you say play from memory, do you mean that we should try to memorize the lyrics too and learn to sing? Okay. Very good question, Andrew. Memorizing the lyrics or not. So that would be the idea of having the thing on your phone to be able to reference the lyrics if you're not good with that. I don't know how I developed it, but I've got a real knack for remembering lyrics for songs. I don't know why, but I can often, I pulled out Britney Spears' Hit Me Baby One More Time at a party last year, and I could remember the whole song, all the lyrics, and I even surprised myself with that one. So I guess it depends on how good you are with memorizing lyrics. If it's Knocking on Heaven's Door, then you can kind of get away with it. If it's American Pie, then you're probably in for a bit of a mission if you're going to remember all of those lyrics. Having the lyrics printed out, I think, is a good idea, or like, have it on your phone, notepad, or easy access. I used to carry around, and I don't know if I've got any friends from the old days when I first moved to London in the chat, but I used to carry around this little clear folder. I don't have any here. It's not here even now. I thought I might have had the extra one, but it had all of the songs that I was learning. It had the chords and the lyrics all printed out just on one A4 page. And I just used to make them on a word processor. And I used to take it around to parties and my guitar, because I just enjoyed playing with friends and having a jam, So I used to carry that about like it would live in my guitar case. So that's not going to be much help for that time that you find yourself in the pub and someone grabs the guitar off the wall. But if you know you're going to play, then having your own songbook, I think, is a really cool thing. You could use like the Just a Guitar Beginner songbook and then just highlight the pages where there's songs that you want to play. The danger of that is you're going to get people thumbing through the book, finding the song that you don't know how to play and asking you to do it, which could be a little frustrating. Let's just have a look here. There's quite a few song requests coming in here. I'm not going to be able to engage with that right now because, yeah. Spider did American Pie last night, says White Bully Dog. Lots of people talking about concentrating on my left and right hand. Singing is impossible for now. It is for those trying to do the singing and playing at the same time. I'll draw your attention to the video I've got, which is called 10 Steps to Singing and Play at the Same Time, or something along that line. You have to automate something. So if you are still really struggling with the guitar part, it will be very difficult to sing and play at the same time. But as soon as you've got the strumming and the chords relatively automated, then you can start thinking about the singing. I often liken it to driving a car. If you're driving stick shift or a manual car, when you first start doing that, it's very, very clunky, and you've really got to think about where the gears are and what direction you have to move it and releasing the clutch at the right speed and all of that. But after not very long, you start to be able to do that absolutely instinctively. Like I don't think about it when I'm driving a manual car at all. You know, my ear is obviously listening out to the engine kind of getting higher and realizing, oh, it's time to change gears. My hand automatically goes to the gear stick. It knows what gear I'm in and where to find the next gear, even if it's from second and I've got to go, you know, up and across the middle and up again to get to third. All of that happens while I'm thinking about the traffic and having a conversation with someone in the back or whatever. So it's a fairly complicated thing that we're able to automate. Actually, playing guitar and changing chords and strumming is relatively simple compared to that. So it is just a matter of practice. The same with driving a car and getting better at changing gears. It's no different to that. You just got to put the hours, put the time into playing guitar to develop that skill set to be able to play. Alex said, when playing over a record, I struggle to find the balance between the volume of the song and the volume of my guitar. I think, Alex, that's just going to have to be a recommendation to, you know, turn your guitar right down and gradually creep it up till you can play along and hear yourself a bit. Playing along with records, really good practice, really good skill set for not stopping. You know, those of you that are using the Justin Guitar Lessons and Songs app will know that I'm really big on using backing tracks because it forces you not to stop. Because if you're playing, if you're doing a campfire thing and you've got your friends singing along, and let's just turn that right down so I get a cleaner sound. And you go, maybe you're gonna be the one that saves me. And after all, you can't sing along. You just can't, right? Whereas if you get the chord wrong and you keep the rhythm going, you maybe you're gonna be the one that saves me. If you can manage to keep a rhythm going, even if the chords completely fall apart, people can still sing along. So really, really important that you get used to driving the rhythm. And I know I've gone off piece a bit here from your question, but playing along with songs or using backing tracks is really good idea. That's why all the way through my beginner course, I emphasize learning real songs, using a backing track if you can, because I really feel like that's a big deal. And that's why I really stress that. And I've just realized somebody said you can't hear my guitar, and that is because I had it muted on my console. So now I'm guessing you can. Probably made absolutely no sense when I said before I was really feeling the tone of the guitar and I tried to play something and it was muted. Yeah. Yeah, that's where we are. So if there's questions, if you got questions, Fan, if you get any good questions that aren't song requests, because I love song requests. I'm happy to entertain them, just not in this kind of format. Fan, you could star them for me if you can. I can't see any starred ones at the moment. Yeah, this a few people say lovely sound, but actually this isn't the sound that I was getting excited about. It was this sound. just the right amount of crunch for me. But yeah, even back here. It's nice. It's just the Kemper profile. There's a 67 Lux Verb 4 it's a profile by Michael Britt. Okay. The other, so I got up to the point where I was going to talk about these other types of campfires. So Campfire Plus songs, I call them, are those ones where they were probably a grower at one point. They've got a little bit more going on. There's some riffs. Wish You Were Here, I would put in that category if you bother to learn the intro and you've learned that whole, the pick and outy bit. If you do learn it, make sure you learn that simple solo, because invariably at parties there's somebody else who knows how to play Wish You Were Here. And if you've taken the time to go, it's not a hard solo. It's a really nice one, but it really sets it up. Like if you hear a guy playing Wish You Were Here and you just strum over, grab another guitar and play that solo, it's like, yeah, we're on, and then join in for the rest of the song. So that's the kind of song. Other ones I put on the list: Sweet Home Alabama. That's got a bit more complicated stuff going on it, but it is, it's a nice sing-along one, so it's a good one. Wholehearted by Extreme, but that's very hard, actually. That's got some tricky stuff in it. Blackbird by the Beatles. Everyone loves singing along with that, and that's a really good exercise, but that's one we'll talk about in the developers section as well. And Under the Bridge, Chili Peppers, another, so it's just a great one to sing along with, but it requires a bit of effort to get there. That's not one that you're going to play if you've had too many beers and you're feeling a bit wobbly. Those ones probably won't come out sounding so good. So they take a bit more concentration. They will have taken more effort to get to the point where you could play it. But I like having a few Campfire Plus songs in there as well. I think it's a good thing. Stuff like Everlong, Foo Fighters, or whatever. There's quite a few songs that you could pop in that one that are real good. And the other one, the other category within that I feel it's worth paying attention to. In fact, a lot of the songs that I teach in the very early beginner stages of my course are the ones that I call growers. And growers are those ones where they start real simple. You can play them really easily with very basic chords, but then they work really well for adding in sus chords, changing up the way you play it to have maybe a picking pattern where you pick out the bass notes, or there's other sorts of embellishments, or you could play it finger style, or there are other approaches to them, so that those songs can grow with you as you learn new things on guitar. And I feel like, especially for real beginners, having a selection of growers is a really good idea, because every time you learn a new technique, you've got something to apply it to immediately. So if you were learning Three Little Birds, you could learn that with just A, D, and E basic, that a thing. So, and you could probably sing, your friends could sing along, and that's okay now. There's nothing that can go too wrong. But as you get better, you might about a thing. When you've learned that little rhythm, suddenly it gets da, 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 da. If I can even remember, I went to the E instead. Da, 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 da. So as soon as you get that new skill set, you can apply the skill set to a chord sequence that you already know. Therefore, it becomes a practical application, and it's kind of an easier way to introduce new things that you learn into your playing. So I would encourage, particularly if at the beginner kind of stage, having those growers is a good idea. I'm going to pop an extra side part that's not in the book, just because I've noticed that there's a bunch of blues guys joined us. I think it's really important to have this same thing if you within a genre that you're working on. So it's not just beginners, but you could think of it as early stages. So if you're getting into your blues guitar, if you're doing my blues immersion course, for example, it would be a good idea to have, instead of campfire songs, you think of jam songs. So like really easy 12-bar blues songs that you can play straight away without having to think about it, right? And then you might have some developer ones that we'll talk a bit more about, but they're ones with more complicated riffs or different arrangements or something funny going on with them, where you've got a very specific skill set to learn, but they could still become part of your repertoire. And then you can have those dreamers that, seriously tricky tunes, you Hideaway by Freddie King, or that kind of thing. So I'm going to. Okay, there's a couple of questions here actually that are really good. Brandon's got one here. How do you take a simple campfire song and make it instantly recognizable? Oh, come on. I clicked the show button. There we go. Without singing along. I've had people ask, what song is that when I'm just strumming a simple pattern? Okay, that is such a great question. If you're not going to sing it all, then you either need to agree in advance with somebody who is going to sing and they sing and you play the song, or you need to find ways of incorporating a melody into the arrangement so that it becomes a piece of music unto itself. There are certain songs like Blackbird, for example, kind of works even if you weren't going to sing. You could play it and people would recognize it and know it straight away. But if you were playing if I played this, what song's that? Any guesses? Come on, what song is it? No takers on what this song is. Oh, I'm disappointed. I was expecting a whole bunch of people to do it. I've got no idea. I just played some chords, right? But you're right. The chords by themselves, does not a song make. It needs more than that. So you either need to put the extra energy in, and it is considerably harder then to start incorporating like a chord melody. So the lessons I've got on the site are things like Yesterday. I'm surprised I could remember that, but that's so if you learn something like that, then you've got an arrangement that you can play where it sounds good by yourself. Classical guitar is really good for that. There's lots of jazz arrangements that's good for that. We're getting into kind of instrumental territory. Maybe like learning songs that have got recognizable riffs. But if the song's got a vocal on it and you want to play that song, then you're going to have to tell people it's this song. Hey, I know how to play the chords to this song. Who'd like to sing it? Right? You might have to announce it that obviously, because you're right. That playing Knocking on Heaven's Door without a lyric gets really boring after the first time round or second time through the progression. So it is something that you're going to need to figure out which avenue you want to go down with that. But the developers kind of takes care of that just a little bit. Okay. Eisenhart, another good question. I find that I can focus better when people aren't watching and I'm not nervous, just not as good. How do I still focus when being watched? Okay, that's like we call it red light fever. It's really normal. Like even for me, I will play loads better before the camera rolls, and then I'll turn the camera on to start filming a song, and it takes. I'll literally practice it and nail a song 3 times in a row and feel like, yeah, man, I'm cooking on this song, and I hit record on the camera, and it's not as good. It's just a thing. It's about relaxing into it, and then usually for me, I turn the cameras on, I play it through maybe once or twice, and then I've settled in, and it's going to be okay. When you're doing a gig, that's part of the deal, is settling into that heightened adrenaline state or whatever. I do find that the more you do it, the more relaxed you get into it, right? So if I often think of it a little bit like a ladder. Like if you've never played in front of anyone before, it's terrifying even to just play for a friend or someone. But then once you've done that, it's like, oh yeah, it wasn't too bad. Nobody died. I stuffed the song up, but nobody cared, and everyone said it was really cool still. You kind of get a bit of a vibe on. And then if you play for a few friends at a party and there's like 10 people there, it's terrifying again. But it makes, once you've done that, the playing for 1 or 2 people is just like, oh yeah, it's nothing. And then you do an open mic and there's like 50 people you don't know, and then that becomes terrifying. But the playing for 10 people is no longer terrifying. So I feel like it doesn't exactly work like that, but the more you do it and the bigger the audiences are, the more it's easier to play for a small group. I always find it harder in front of family, though, weirdly. Like if my family are at a gig, I find it more pressured, or if I've got loads of friends at the gig. And really big gigs are different as well. Uh, I've done it once. I've played at Wembley or whatever, and I've done a few arena shows with Kate. And very often the people are very far away from the stage because there's a big kind of gap where there's the cameras and stuff. So, and when there's lots of lights on, you don't really see the people. So it goes back to being like, there's people there, but it doesn't feel as kind of weird as the smaller one. But anyway, okay. Let me continue on the course, and I'll come back because we've got 10 starred questions. So I'm going to try and make sure that I've got time for that as well. I know I'm waffling a bit, but hopefully this is all interesting things. So developers are probably the most important type of song that you want to have in your practice schedule. So these are songs where there's a specific skill that you want to learn. If it's Blackbird, it could be the fingerstyle thing. It could be a particular type of picking, could be a particular type of chords. It could be a rhythm, a groove, a style. All of us have to learn something at some point. When we first try a new skill, it's difficult. If I go ice skating, I'm pretty rubbish because I don't go ice skating very often. It's just, that's how it is. So choosing a developer song is when you're choosing a song that you feel is kind of achievable, that you can kind of do, and you can imagine that you'd be able to do it within a few months of practicing, right? So giving yourself, let's say 3 months, a quarter, and you're like, right, I can kind of play it. I know what the chords are. I feel like I can kind of do it. You have a bit of a go. We'll talk about having a bit of a go more when we talk about Dreamers in a sec, but you have a go at a bit of the song. You're just kind of curious. What happens here? Is it, am I ever going to be able to play this? Oh, this is not as hard that I thought. This is possible. And then you sit down and you try and figure out what it is. And you know that in the learning of that song, you're learning that new skill. And the great thing about that is that you can use songs as a vehicle for learning a new skill, rather than sitting there trying to practice a particular fingerstyle pattern over and over again, which is really boring. You learn a song that uses that finger picking pattern, and then by the end of it, you've nailed the finger picking pattern and a song to put it in. So, when I started on guitar and when I was starting out teaching in my early 20s, it was I was very much into teaching patterns and exercises. I would devise exercises to develop certain skills, but the longer I've played, the more I feel like that's not the answer. The answer is finding a song or a lick or whatever that utilizes a particular technique and use that as a vehicle for learning the technique. I feel like that's so strong. So I put a few examples in the book. Angeles by Elliott Smith. It's just beautiful fingerstyle pattern, one that, really work on your dexterity, some interesting chords going on there as well. So it's going to take you a bit of practice, slow, careful practice to be able to get that down technically. But once you got it, it's a really beautiful one. Stairway to Heaven. There's lots of skill things going on in there. You've got lots of fingerstyle picking patterns. You've got the picking pattern in the second part. You've got chord section where it gets a bit bigger. There's a solo. So it depends on which. You might not be working on all of those things at the same time. Probably for Stairway, you're probably thinking about the chords. Norwegian Wood, really nice one again. Very similar to the next one, Needle and the Damage Done by Neil Young. Both of those ones really good for picking out individual notes while you're playing the chords. So it's kind of strumming, but you're picking out bass notes. So that's that kind of thing. Fantastic skill that you can apply to lots of different songs depending on the style that you really like. So, it could be more rocky riffs. It could be, doing a detuned thing. It could be a slide guitar thing. And anytime there's a skill involved, right? And the skill could be anything kind of physical, usually physical things that you want to develop on guitar. So it could be very broad, but I think it's important to have in there. Now, I'm going to talk about Dreamers again now as well, and then I'll go back to some of the questions because I think talking about this is going to answer some of those questions. So the Dreamers are those songs that you always wanted to play and you're like, oh, I'll never play that. It's too hard. I won't be able to do that. And I think it's important to have a go at those songs for a whole bunch of reasons. You got to go try them out though with the right attitude, and the attitude should be curiosity. Because if you go there like, hey, I want to play For the Love of God by Steve Vai. I've always wanted to play that song. And you sit down and you start going like, oh man, there's so much stuff in here that I can't do. I can't pick fast enough. I can't stretch those things. It can end up being a little depressing. So what I'd suggest you do is go with the perspective of going, hey, I've always wanted to play that song. I wonder what it's like to do it. And I wonder how far away it is. How far? Is it next year? Is it 5 years? Am I ever going to be able to do it? Like, where does it get to? Be curious and then have a go. Go and find a lesson on it and just try. If you go with that curious attitude, then there's nothing that can really go wrong. You're just experimenting. And what happens a lot of the time is things are actually a bit easier than you might think. So more possible that you get like, oh man, I could possibly do, maybe not yet, but next year I reckon I can have a go at that. And very often you'll find one that actually, no, look, hang on, this is pretty close. I'm putting this in. This one's going to be a developer. I can get this one. And that feels amazing when you reach out for a song that you think might be a bit tricky and have a go and go, actually, you know what? I could do this. That feels really nice. It's also a nice thing to kind of judge how you're progressing. If there's a song that you always wanted to play and you try it in the first year of guitar and you're like, oh man, like I can't imagine that I'm going to be able to do this. It's so difficult. Those chord changes and the stretches or whatever, the speed. And then you revisit that Dreamer song a year later and you're like, oh, hey, like it's not the same distance away as it was a year ago. So you can really start to notice things kind of getting more toward achievable. So I really feel like it's an important part of the practice is having a go at those songs. Sometimes you'll find you don't get the whole song down, that you maybe just take a piece of it. So if it's got a lead melody kind of a part, maybe you can't do the whole thing, but you can do the tapping part. And that's okay. Like, unless you're playing in a band, you have to play the whole thing. Maybe just playing the tapping part in Eruption is cool for you. Actually, Eruption is a really good example for me because it's one I've had a few goes at playing that over the years, and there's big sections of it that I find just really, really difficult. I hardly ever play with a whammy bass, or all of that stuff's hard. The super fast picking part is hard, but I can do the tapping bit, and I enjoy playing it, and it's a fun thing to play, and I don't feel bad that I can't do the rest of it. It's cool. Maybe one day I'll put the effort in to do it. I understand how much effort is involved in learning that, and right now I don't have the time for it. Same for me, flamenco guitar. I love flamenco guitar. I've got a few books on it. I've had a few lessons, and I kind of know what's involved. And on a sunny summer afternoon, you find me in my garden with my classical guitar having a bit of a go. But I'm never going to be a serious flamenco guitar player. It's just a fun thing, and it's just like when I revisit it, for me, my progress isn't maybe as steep as it is for beginner and intermediate players. It takes me longer to make progress. So I don't notice myself getting better every time I have a go at it, but I really enjoy it. And that's fine to just really enjoy it. That's enough, So I feel like having these 3 types of songs incorporated into your practice routine is really, really good idea. Now, I saw, I just saw that Tommy Emmanuel, he's another good example where I used to listen to him and just be like, there's no way I'm ever going to be able to play that. And then I had to go, I think it was Mombasa, and it was like, no, like I reckon after a few months I can get it. And I did, and that was a real buzz. So there were some starred songs here, and one of them was about how you practice all 3. I saw it flick up on the thing, and I thought it was starred, and now I can't see it. Oh yeah, tips on how to work on several songs from Amy. So when it comes time to incorporate your songs into your practice, it depends on exactly what kind of routine you're going for, whether you're doing the same thing every day or whether you're breaking your practice, to different amounts. Everyone is different, and while there are certainly themes and ways of structuring practice that I think are a good idea, like working on some technical things, working on some knowledge things. If you're a beginner, it's like chord changes and strumming and rhythm and repertoire. When it comes to that repertoire segment, because almost every guitar player should be working on repertoire, because songs is what we do all of the other stuff for. And learning songs should be the thing that informs you what technical stuff you should be doing, right? So the inability to play a section of a song should be the thing that tells you need to work on a strumming pattern, a scale, picking, finger tapping, sweep picking, whatever it is that the technical things that you can't do in the song are the things that you will put into your technical practice. But when it comes to time to your repertoire, only you really know how you should divide it up. But you want to have at least one of those, each of those songs in your repertoire for regular weekly practice. It could be one day you do the Campfire, one day you do a Developer, and one day you do the Dreamer. It could be that you say once a week, and the way that I used to structure the practice for a lot of my students was one day a week was Campfire practice, and nearly all of the practice would just be playing through your whole repertoire, your 10 songs in a row, and just working on them, making sure that they're all good, noticing things about them that you need to work on in the coming week, right? So just making sure that you've got that nice and solid. The Dreamer songs, maybe you don't have to do that quite so often. So doing a Dreamer once a week would probably be enough, because it's not something there's no immediate thing in there. It's more of a kind of an inspirational and an aspirational kind of a practice. So maybe the Dreamer thing's just once a week. The Developers is probably where it's at a little bit more often for the consistent practice. It does depend on the tune, and it does depend on your personality type and where you're at on your journey. For a real beginner, maybe the Dreamers are less important. If you've literally been playing guitar for a month, having a go at playing a Joe Satriani song or whatever is, you're not going to get very far. And if you practice that every day, it might be a little bit silly. So you have to, I'm hoping that I've kind of explained the why enough. What I'm trying to do when I'm giving you these ideas, I'm not trying to just give you the fish. I'm trying to teach you maybe not how to fish, but how I caught the fish. So maybe you can figure out how to fish. Does that make sense? That you need to be aware of where you're at, what your goals are. I talk a lot about goal setting and how important it is to be aware of where you want to get to, because that will determine the things that you should practice in order to get there. But I would find a way over, say, a week or 2 week period to be touching on all three of those songs, and only you know the best way to break it up. But as I suggested, the Dreamers maybe doesn't have to be as often. Developers should be the lion's chunk of it, and the Campfire ones that you want to revisit regular, so that you can start to build up the consistency and remembering them. Because as I said, like, it's something that the ski trip experience really reminded me, was that, hey, like, I don't practice that anymore. I play guitar a lot, but I don't practice playing easy songs that people want to sing along in the pub, so I try and fix that now, and even I'm still regularly sitting down in my little practice chair over there and going through a bunch of songs to have a little sing and play, and reminding myself of cool songs that I enjoy performing as well, that I enjoy playing. But really good question, Amy. Okay, what's this question? How do you disassociate trying to sing along with the strumming pattern? Oh, okay. So Paul, the answer to that is essentially what I was talking about with the car thing, with the stick shift. Like, it has to be independent. So, I'll try and do it, see if I can make myself look bad by not being able to do it. But if I give myself a strumming pattern, I should be able to talk about whatever. And, I'm just doing Old Faithful now because that's the easiest one, I guess. But I should be able to do that relatively consistently and answer your question, or read the next question from Darren about how do you try to remember songs after you've stopped playing them for a few weeks. So I can read, I can do whatever. I could play, the example I just used to use before was I used to try and do fingerstyle patterns while I was playing chess, because I figured if I could absolutely be absorbed in a chess game, then and still do the finger picking pattern, that I've managed to keep it kind of force it into that part of my brain that's not thinking about what I'm actually doing. So the word I like to use, which is kind of funny, when it's a subroutine. So trying to get this little bit of my brain that's doing, repeating this thing without having to think about it too much. And what I find most often when I'm playing a song for real is that there are occasions where my attention flicks to the guitar and then back again, where if there's a little complicated bit, I'll be mostly trying to get in the zone for the singing. But then if there's something tricky going on the guitar, or something goes wrong, then my attention jumps back to the guitar and then back off it once everything's back on track. But it's all about automation. You've got to practice strumming. For you, if you specifically talk about a strumming pattern, You want to practice the strumming pattern, get it good, and then keep strumming and start thinking about something else. Think about what you're having for dinner next week, or it can be anything, right? Just not the strumming, and then graduate and wait for it to go wrong, which it will, and be like, oh, okay, it went wrong. I lasted 5 strumming patterns. Okay, let's do it again, and try and make it a little longer every time. I think that would be my suggestion there, Paul. But yeah, great question again. Okay. I read Darren's question out and I didn't answer it. That's a bit rude. How do you try to remember songs after you've stopped playing them for a few weeks? So you definitely want to have a pad. You want to have a songbook. You want to have something to reference. The most important thing is trying to remember it without the cheat sheet first of all, and then only using the cheat sheet if you absolutely have to, right? So the Tommy Emmanuel song, the Mombasa or whatever, if I'm playing that, I'm not going to be able to remember. I couldn't just sit down and play it even right now. Like it's going to take a little while for me to bring back what it is. But the process of bringing it back without referring to the tab or the music is what strengthens the memory of it, right? So that's a real key thing here. So always aim to recall the things without any reference. And then if you get stuck, just have a quick peek and go, oh yeah, it's that. And then stop looking at it again and try and go back to the memorization thing. That's 100% the way that our memory is strongest, is practicing the recall. It seems to, there is science behind it. I just can't remember all the technical terms for it, but there's a particular way of thing that the way your memory starts to form when you do the recall. So use a cheat sheet and have a book, but try and aim as much as you can on recall. So, but great question. There's a few more questions that I haven't had a chance to get to yet. Where's Darren's question gone? I can't click it off. Fanny, can you make the question disappear off the screen because I can't see it anymore? There we go. Because I've got to announce the winners of the song challenge. That's pretty exciting. Hey. Okay. So thank you. So let's start off with big thank you for everyone who entered. It was such a cool thing. Really enjoyed watching so many of them. The team have helped me sort this out because I find it really difficult choosing winners of anything. So I had to ask my team to deal with it, but it was based on interactions and getting your friends involved with it. So the first thing I want to mention is all of the finalists are going to get a $50 gift card to the merch store. So if you can go and grab yourself some merch, Fanny will be in touch with you to sort that out very soon. So 4th place. Now we've got some extra prizes here for 4th, 3rd, and 2nd as well. You're going to get the Ultimate Just a Guitar bundle, which is this the same as our Black Friday bundle, I think, and it's valued at 325 quid. The Just a Guitar Ultimate Bundle. So 4th place is gone to Jason, and Fanny is going to stick these in the chat, the link to their Instagram in the chat, I think. I tried to play them on the screen here, but the quality of downloading them from Instagram and replaying them is really not, there was no point. So I'm not going to do that, but that's, so it is Insta was Haggis in Reigate. Fantastic. Jason, originally from South Africa, now in England, started learning guitar in March after major surgery following cancer diagnosis in January. He says playing guitar has been his best pain relief, helping him stay focused on music. It's fantastic. So happy to, I'm not happy to hear the situation, but very happy that music can be a therapy. It's a great therapy for all of us. He was performing Stains Outside, which is a beautiful song as well. So congrats, Chase. Fanny will be in touch as usual to sort that out. 3rd place goes to Aaron. His Insta is lucky.earthling. Aaron is Nicaraguan and born in Colombia, now living in the north of Sweden. And he was playing Europa by Carlos Santana, played on top of the frozen lake. I really liked that one. I thought that was very, very cool. Just a cool idea, you know, skating around on a lake while playing a song on guitar. Yeah, that was a really cool idea. So congrats, Aaron. That's it's getting exciting now. 2nd place and 3rd place. Here we go. 2nd place, Arsenio. I'm not going to try and, the Insta's got all funny things in it, but He's from Napa, USA, playing and singing. And here's my Spanish is so awful. Sonora y Sas Hoyos Negros by Miguel y Miguel. I think the Y is pronounced E, right? So congratulations. That's awesome as well. Now, drum roll, please. Should have bought my sound effects box. Hey. The grand winner, the winner of the PRS guitar is Christian. Congratulations, Christian. I really enjoyed his take. He's from London. He was playing A Dream is a Wish Your Heart Makes, which is from Disney's Cinderella. He said he stepped out of his comfort zone to play a kind of a jazzy thing. Really, it was. I really enjoyed that performance, just generally. I thought it was really cool, good groove, nice playing. Just had a lot of good things going on. You got a lot of support there, a lot of mentions from outside of from within the community. So congratulations. Fanny will be in touch to get you details. I'll get that guitar out to you be next week now. So congratulations. That's really awesome. And again, thank you everyone for entering. It was really good fun. I hope you enjoyed it as well. I think having those kind of challenges and challenging yourself to perform a song kind of fits nicely with this idea of the song, the learning different types of songs and working on, a developer. I do feel like this, the social aspect of playing guitar in the modern world where everything's a bit online and a bit more detached, I watch with great admiration the Just a Guitar community and the fact that they do these amazing live streams and the way they support each other. There's a amazing audio and video of you playing, AVYOP section, where people post videos of their performances and get feedback from the community, and it's just really heartwarming to see the support that you can get there. So if you're feeling a bit lonely in your guitar journey and you want some company, I'd definitely go and head out and check out the community. It's really a really nice bunch of chaps. A few of the locals from the community are in the chat right now. I'm sure that they'll tell you about how good it is and how I'm an absent dad. I think that's my favorite quote. I think that came from Brian. Yeah, that's that one. I need to click back on my little masterclass thing here to check. We had a little tech issue earlier on, but it is all sorted out. So the only other thing that I want to mention is the salesy bit is we've got the Ultimate Just a Guitar bundle, which is our Black Friday type thing. Like Black Friday and consumerism and all of that sort of stuff always makes me churn a little bit, but it's I'm hoping that this will actually give you a really positive vibe, to developing your own skill set and learning better how to play music better is something that kind of improves. Well, I like to think it improves our lives anyway. At least it does. It definitely does mine. So in the bundle, we've got things like the Practical Music Theory course, my full collection of the Just a Guitar jam tracks, the Strumming SOS series, my new ebook, which I should mention as well, called Food for Thought. It's available as an ebook now. We are also selling a beautiful cloth-bound hardcover book as well. That's not included in this bundle because it's a very limited edition thingy. But the ebook is the Transcribing Blues Solos, the Children's Songbook, and then we've got a bunch of these things which kind of give you a big discount, a 50% off the merch store, lifetime access gift card, 40% off the lifetime access gift card for my app if you want to have the lifetime of that, 25% off the next blues immersion course if you want to join on that 6 months intensive blues thing, and an extra 10% off Guitar Pro 8 if you wanted to grab that as well, because I think they have a discount already and it's an extra discount, I think is what it is. But read the T&C there and make sure. The 4 of the first 100 bundles that we sell, 4 of those entries will be picked at random for a one-on-one session with me. We always say that they're worth $699. I don't normally charge $700 for a guitar lesson. When I do, all of the money goes to my Playing It Forward charity. I want to mention that because I don't want people thinking, God, he's sitting there making all this money. So that's over on the website, justaguitar.com/store/Black Friday I'm sure Fanny will put a link there somewhere. We'll send a link email after. I didn't have my chat on the screen then. I was looking at something else. So yeah, there we go. That's that. We've still got a little bit of time left. Shall I take some more questions? I think I should. Fanny, is there anything else that I've forgot to mention? The bundle is worth £1,028.70. Take all of the options. I think that's that price would be. Okay, let me go back to those other questions here. Okay, Andre asks, if it's okay if I try difficult songs and often hurry to chord changes that are not that clean as they should be, or should I rather practice slower? You say practice makes permanent. That's why I ask. Okay, very, very good question, Andre. So if you follow along on my beginner course, you'll notice that there's two parts to practice that I suggest for chord changes. Part one is called chord perfect. And chord perfect is about making your chord changes absolutely perfectly, right? There's like sitting down and really focusing on getting the chord changes absolutely spot on. Fingers moving to the right place, no buzzy notes, taking your time to get the fingers in exactly the right position both times. But then I also recommend working on playing right through the song and not caring if the chord changes are a little bit fluffy, so that you maintain the rhythm. And when I'm teaching that, I call it forcing the changes. What I find most of the time, not every time, nearly all the time, is that students, if they're working on those two areas, that eventually it comes good and you're doing really fast and perfect chord changes. If you only practice them with the too fast and you fluff them all the time, there is the danger that you're practicing the wrong thing. But I feel in this particular instance, as long as you're doing good practice as well to make sure the chords are ringing out properly, then it'll get there. A good example would be maybe somebody trying to play a song that's got an F chord in it and they're struggling with the F. If they don't do any practice on the F chord by itself, it's unlikely that they'll ever just jump to it and it'll magically be amazing, right? So you need to be working on that at the same time. But if you only ever do really slow, careful practice with the F and you don't teach your fingers to jump to it quickly, then they never will do that either. So I feel like there's both of those things are really valuable and support each other. One or the other is not very helpful. That's the way I feel like that's the strongest one. Okay. I have no visual memory, so I only have muscle memory to rely on. So whole songs seem out of reach even after 3 years. Okay, so avid non-theist. I also have aphantasia. I don't remember pictures at all. I can vaguely kind of present my mind with what I know a picture looks like to be able to see it, like net fretboard diagrams or whatever, but I know them. So if I was you, I would start to look at things to make any kind of way of remembering a particular chord progression or a particular pattern, and just know it rather than trying to visualize it and think of it as a visual pattern. You need to think of it as a facts and figures, numbers or letters, and just think like that. And especially it is a skill that develops over time. So I would suggest you doing just try and learn a couple of songs that are A, D, and E. I'm sure you can remember A, D, E, ADGE, A, D. Oh no, aid, just aid. Let's say it's fade, and you just remember that. Oh, that would give you an F chord at the beginning. Made, right? I made a good choice. M isn't a chord, and then you've got A, D, and E. So check out a song that's got A, D, and E in it and learn it that way. You need to. We are all different. We've all got different struggles and different things different battles we're going to have to face. So if you know you've got a particular difficulty with an aspect of it, sometimes you're going to need to try and figure out your own way around it. It's I've had a lot of emails from people over the years that have had, they've lost a finger or there's some physical defect that they've got an injury, a bike accident or something, and they've got something physically wrong with them. And I can't really answer to the solution for that because you have to figure, that's one, you just have to figure it out. Like, what can I do? What can't I do? What can I do? How can I get around this problem? And especially after I should know the guy's name. There's a dude who can play with his feet. Great guitar. There's a bunch of videos of him playing with like Andy Timmons and stuff. And the dude can really play with his feet. And I just feel like any people who are like, oh, I can't play because my fingers are too short. I'm like, yeah, there's a guy with no arms over there playing with his feet. Like, enough already, right? We've all got struggles. Like, we just have to figure out what those struggles are. I have a really short little finger, and there's certain technical songs that are really, really difficult for me to do to play because of that. Tommy Emmanuel songs, where the stretch of the little finger just doesn't happen. So I have to figure my own way around it. It's no good to me to ring Tommy and go, hey man, I've got a short little finger. How am I going to play that, that chord in Angelina? How do I do that? He's like, I don't know. That's your problem, man, not my problem. Actually, you probably wouldn't say that because he's such a sweet man. He'd probably spend ages trying to figure out how to do it. But you get the point. You just have to figure your battle. I get your question though. Valid question. Okay, I've got another couple of questions here. Thanks, Justin. Interested to hear your inspirations on YouTube, if any. My inspirations on YouTube. I don't know if I really get inspired by YouTube generally. That's not. I don't tend to watch a lot of YouTube. I'll be honest. If I've got spare time, I tend to just play guitar or I study, I'm quite into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so I might watch an instructional video, but again, I don't tend to do that on YouTube because there's videos that I buy from people who I know teach really well, so Submeta or whatever, the Lachlan Giles things or whatever. I'd probably watch videos there before just watching a random thing on YouTube. So I'm sorry, I don't want to be a cop-out, but I don't tend to watch YouTube very much. I'm sorry. But I appreciate the contribution there, Jan. That's very kind of you. Okay, I'm over time, but I'm going to try and get these last ones through. Ethan says, how to memorize chords, not just shapes. I've been having a hard time with that. Well, chords are shapes, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to learn the shapes. Like, I always thought of them as visual shapes, like the pattern that they make. I don't think that's a bad thing, and I'm not 100% sure I get what you mean by learning them as chords instead. If you're a more advanced guitar player, I think it's worth understanding how harmony works so that you know how to, say, change a major seventh chord into a dominant seventh chord by lowering the seventh degree one semitone. So therefore, you don't have to learn as many shapes. You learn one shape and you learn how to manipulate that shape. That's a very strong intermediate skill, not a beginner skill. And I'm not exactly sure I understand your question clearly enough. I'm sorry if that's not the right take on it, but that's the best I got. Some random guy asks, and that's his name, not me being dismissive. I'm missing strings of strumming, like my hand was scared to hit the strings. Any advice? When you strum, very rarely do you strum all the strings. Most commonly, when you strum a down strum, you tend to focus on the thicker strings. And when you do an upstroke, you tend to focus on the thinner strings. So when you go like down, down, up, down, down, it is more, if I slow it down, it's... You hear very much low sounds. High, high. If you strum all the strings every time, so if I went down... which feels really awful. I don't feel like that sounds as good as... It is that low to high thing that makes strumming patterns sound cool and interesting, and it's why so often, like MIDI guitar, like people trying to play guitar sounds on keyboards sound a little bit funny because they try and play all of the notes in their strums, and that's just not how it works. You tend to hit the thicker strings on a down, up strings on the up. If you're talking about just missing the strings altogether, so long as you keep your hand moving, it's okay. So if we're doing that, and I miss a few, doesn't matter at all. And then you just get back on when you can. So the key thing is really keeping your hand moving. That is the secret for strumming. It's what all of my strumming courses are all basically the same thing, which is just keep your hand moving. And I look at different approaches to get you to that same place. But that's the trick. Keep the hand moving consistently, and strumming should be pretty simple. Okay, last one. Rohit, if that's how it's pronounced. How do I balance learning songs and practicing techniques and knowledge? Sometimes I get into learning a few different songs and end up not practicing my techniques for a long time. So there's lots of different people who have different perspectives on practicing, and I'm not trying to profess that my view is the only view, and you've got to find the one that works best for you. My opinion is that you should break your practice down into different areas. The most important ones will be technique, and I'm not saying that's the most important, it's just the first one I'm mentioning. Knowledge, rhythm, and repertoire. Right? That's the basic four, but it depends on if you're studying specific styles, there will be other things that you might want to add in there. So you got knowledge, you got learning chords, you got learning anything that you've got to learn. Scale shapes, arpeggios, could even be strumming patterns you could put in there. Anything that you need to know, music theory, whatever, that's knowledge. Technique is things that you need to be able to play the guitar, physical things, picking, strumming, vibrato, string bending, chord changes, whatever. Technical, your physical ability to put your fingers on the instrument. So that's something that I would suggest everyone practice every day. What have we got there? Repertoire, which is exactly what we've just been talking about. These 3 different types of songs that you should be working on. And last one was rhythm. Now, depending on where you are on the course, rhythm would be different things. It would be strumming patterns and trying to automate your strumming patterns. If you're a real beginner, if you're intermediate, we'd be maybe looking at 16th notes and dynamics and varying the loudness of your playing so that you can play loud and soft. If you're more advanced, you can look at the rhythm of your lead, how your lead playing is in time and all of that sort of stuff. So there's different elements of that. But being able to play in time is really the one of the key skills. If when you listen to B.B. King play a solo with one note, he can play the same note as me or you, but he makes it amazing because of his sense of rhythm. You often get people, if I just pick one note and go, it's kind of musical. I'm not saying it's like amazing, but it's musical. It's got some sort of musical element just from one note, but it's rhythm. It's understanding of rhythm. It's understanding a groove. So the rhythm part, I think, is super important as well. But balancing those things in a way that makes sense for you and your goals is the way to figure out a practice routine. I have plenty of set practice routines that I talk about. There are things like transcribing, which is a really great skill depending on what it is that where your goal is. I've got a series called Effective Practice, which is something that it sounds like I think it will be worth you checking out to understand the process of goal setting and figuring out where you want to go and what skills you need to get from A to B, and then figuring out your journey to get from one place to another place. So that's how I see it. And I think that's got to be about it because I'm 10 minutes over my time. Hoping my daughter's managed to make it to sleep already. I've got a big day tomorrow. I've got to drive very far. I've got a whole day being tattooed tomorrow. So I need to make sure I get my rest so I don't just pass out or something halfway through. That would be embarrassing. So thank you very much for joining me. I really hope you enjoyed the session. Don't forget to grab your ebook. Fanny will be in touch with all of the winners of the song comp. And I'm sure she'll paste a link somewhere to join the list if you want to get that ebook. I'm sure it'll appear on the website at some point in the future if you don't grab it right away. So congratulations again, Christian. Yeah, Fan will be in touch soon to get your details and we'll get that guitar over to you. Have a fantastic weekend ahead. And thank you, Fanny, for looking after all of the stuff that's been going on and helping with all of my notes and things. I really appreciate it. Fans popping the link up for the Black Friday to remind me to please do go and check that out if you want to get yourself a present for Black Friday. That's great. Supports me, supports the website, and I really appreciate it. Have yourself an absolutely fantastic day, weekend, and I'll see you for more very soon. Ciao, ciao. Bye.